guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, HOA towed the car of a disabled veteran for having illegal patriotic stickers. Hey there y'all. I wanted to share my story about the issues I had with my HOA this year. Let me start by saying that I hadn't had very many problems with my condo's governing body in the 5 years I'd resided there. I should have known better anyway with all the things I've heard, plus, who wants another group of people telling you what to do? Anyway, I made my mistake and I'm living with it. Like I said, I think I'd had a warning once when I left my truck in the driveway overnight and not in the garage. It was only because I had a project I was working on. I pride myself on being a crafty SOB and enjoy carpentry. I was building my granddaughter a rocking chair because she was expecting my first great-grandson. I had the chair outside and was staining it and needed room for the tarp and whatnot, and it had to dry, so I left my truck in the driveway overnight. Anyway, that was years ago, and I've never had any issues since. Until this year. My daughter put a bunch of bumper stickers and silly stuff for my new truck in my Christmas stocking. 3 decals that were honoring my time spent in the military. One just says Semper Fi and the other 2 are just Vietnam vet and proud Marine. I served in Vietnam a long time ago and remained in active duty for 17 years after that. Yeah, it's true. I'm an old man, but I'm still going pretty strong for being in my 70s. I am proud of my military background. I owe a lot of who I am to the military and those that I served with. I was quick to apply my new and proud bumper stickers, not thinking for a second that they would be the cause of so much drama. It was a few months later, maybe around March, when all the trouble began. I know exactly who it is that started this mess too. The HOA board president lives about 4 doors down from me, and these are condos, so the homes are relatively close together. I don't know if he just got sick of looking at my bumper stickers or what happened, but all of a sudden, I received this letter from the HOA threatening to tow my car and a daily fine of $50 if I don't remove or cover up the bumper stickers, decals. Some nonsense about them being illegal and against neighborhood policy, specifically stating that they were advertisements, which is what makes it against the rules. I was pretty shocked by this. I felt like it was abrupt and ridiculous that they didn't bother to come and talk to me personally about the bumper stickers if they were some kind of problem. Also, the car is in a garage anytime I'm home, so I'm not sure why this is an issue. I'm pretty pissed, to be totally honest, guys. I've lived in the neighborhood for a while and have formed relationships with a lot of the residents. I started talking with them about the threatening letter. They all agree that it's utter bullshit and they want to help do something about it. My friends Jean and Tom decide that they want to write to the local newspaper and news station to shame the HOA. I also think that it will put pressure on them to answer for their nonsensical reasoning behind wanting me to remove some military pride bumper stickers. There were several residents that also wrote letters to the board, stating that they do not believe that the stickers are advertisements and that they think that they should be allowed. My history with the Marines is part of who I am, after all. Why do they think this is some form of business advertisement? The only thing that makes sense is that they simply just don't like them. Maybe they think they appear tacky, or perhaps they just don't like the military. I also still believe it is the HOA board president. I caught him rolling by slowly one day a few weeks before the letter, when I had the truck in the driveway and was working on another project in the garage. Another letter came later that week stating that this was the final warning and that the truck would be removed from the premises until the decals were taken off or covered up. Not to mention the fines that I had racked up at this point. I honestly can't believe it. What are they going to do if my car is in my garage anyway? This is so bizarre and controlling and shitty that I'm almost speechless. I called Jean and Tom to vent, and they were completely shocked as well. Really? Just gonna tow the car because of some bumper stickers when I'm on my own property? Jean called the news station almost immediately. I could hear her telling them the story while Tom and I were still talking on the phone. It seemed like they were interested in my story. I wouldn't imagine that it would be newsworthy, but apparently it is. The next day we had a crew over that was interviewing us and scoping the neighborhood. The crewman mentioned that there were other properties that had political or some other kind of bumper sticker on their cars. Ones that are similar enough to mine that they could easily be considered advertisements like mine. They interviewed several neighbors that were willing to come and talk. All of them said nice things about me and agreed that my bumper stickers should be allowed. Tom said that he managed to contact another one of the board members, named Jeremiah, and convinced him to come and speak with the news crew. During his interview, Jeremiah mentioned that he hadn't heard anything about my letters or threats and that he wanted to look into the situation. That made me feel pretty good. Maybe there was someone that would be on my side on the board. Thankfully, all of the work Gene and Tom didn't go to waste. It wasn't long after the news story aired publicly that there was a ton of buzz about the situation. Only a few days passed before I was pleasantly surprised by a different kind of HOA letter. They actually apologized, and said that there was a miscommunication about policy and that things would be changed soon. There was also a note at the bottom that said that there was a recent change in board member presidents and that there would be no more issues circulating around bumper stickers. Jeremiah ended up signing the letter personally, and I found out a few weeks later that he became the new HOA president. This was great news. Jeremiah is a genuinely great guy and has done a lot of good with the association since he took it over. Now people are allowed to have Christmas decorations up. Yeah, the old president hated them. What a Grinch. And we have a block party cookout every quarter. I have been allowed to keep my bumper stickers and have actually added some new ones to the collection. Throwing a few on there about being a great grandpa, the jersey number of my grandson who plays football in college, and one supporting my home baseball team. This situation inspired me to show all the support I can to things that make me the man that I am today. I can't let some HOA bully try to stop me. Every once in a while, I will see that sour man when he comes out of his house and I flash him a kind smile, hoping that he will see the error of his ways. The next story is titled, "My Pregnant Sil Thinking She Will Get Us Kicked Out of the Apartment When She Broke the Rules." A little backstory here. I live on the first floor of a 3-story house which is rented out as 3 apartments. The people in the basement are working immigrants who basically work all week and drink on the weekends. They stick to themselves and haven't broken any rules, so we let each other be. My pregnant, soon-to-be, Sil lives on the 2nd floor. She lives with her son and her boyfriend, who she constantly yells at and treats like trash, visits for long periods of time every now and then. We moved here over a month ago because she recommended the apartment to us. Let's cut to the good stuff. The rules here are simple. Quiet from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. No pets allowed. My fiancé went to sleep around 11:30 p.m. one night. He was unable to sleep due to noise from their apartment and sent a message asking them to keep it down. Their living room is above our bedroom. The night after, around 2 a.m., we heard noises from upstairs. It sounded like they were moving furniture around. This woke up our 6-month-old baby. My fiancé decided to call whoever he heard talking upstairs, and it was his nephew. He explained that he had put his hamster cage in the living room, and it was running in the wheel. The next day, I was getting the stroller ready to go for a walk with our baby. My Sil comes barging down the stairs and asks if my fiancé is awake. Yes. She barged into our apartment and started yelling at him about his complaints, and he shouted at her to get out. I put my baby in the stroller and walked out of our driveway. I hadn't done shit. Suddenly, I hear her shouting at me, "I will call the landlord about this." This was embarrassing and uncomfortable because we live in a neighborhood with houses pretty close to each other. I had to stop the walk and go back to calm her down. She said that we're not allowed to live our lives and we have to tiptoe around our apartment because of you, and I never listened to music anymore. She went ballistic Karen and blew up the whole situation, making it seem like my fiancé had complained a lot more times than he had and that he was just the worst. She was also pissed that he decided to call her son instead of her, which he did because he didn't want to wake her up due to her pregnancy hormones. Apparently, her son got nervous and didn't want to answer. I just stood there and listened as I didn't want this situation to escalate. I walked in to ask my fiancé about his complaints and message. He explained to me that he had only complained the 2 times I have mentioned. I also saw the message he had sent, and it was something along the lines of, "Hey, could you please keep it down up there? I'm trying to sleep, but it's a bit noisy up there," with a smiley emoji at the end. I also heard the conversation with his nephew the night before, and it had been calm. All he did was ask him to move the cage. We decided to let the situation die out for now. It would end up in them either having to get rid of the hamster, which would really hurt Sil's son, or being thrown out. I don't want to deal with an angry pregnant woman being thrown out. They're looking for a new apartment either way and will hopefully be out within a year. I have evidence of them owning the hamster, and my fiancé has the timestamps for the message and call on his phone just in case. I'll let her call the landlord next time and get herself in trouble. Edit. They have been talking, walking and watching movies basically every night after we moved in, after 11 p.m., and we have never complained about that as it never bothered us. Our baby has only ever awoken to the hamster cage once, as it sounded like a chair being dragged back and forth across the floor. My fiancé asked SIL's son nicely to please put the cage in his room as it had awoken our daughter. I should also state that my SIL exaggerates situations. My fiancé once told her he may grab a pint or two with some friends, and she told their mother he was gonna get drunk. She's almost 32 and calls her mother about every damn thing. The next story is titled, I am totally allowed to park in your driveway and block you from driving out because I am older than you. I live right next to a small forest that is filled with gravel paths meant to be used by people to walk, ride their bicycles on, or even ski during winter. Because of COVID, people have been more anxious to get outside, so the small parking lot next to the forest is usually overflowing with cars, especially in the weekends. People are forced to park on my street because there's nowhere else to park. This has caused problems where the cars parked are barely allowing clearance for other cars to drive past, slowing down traffic. People whose driveways are without a gate are putting up signs, asking others not to park in front of their house, blocking their way. Most people respect it, but of course everyone doesn't. In comes the Karen of the story. This was last Saturday. As always, the parking lot was filled, and cars were lining up on the side of the street. I was getting ready to take my moped to the grocery store when I noticed a G-Class Mercedes stop in front of my house, directly in front of the driveway gate. I walk outside to see a middle-aged lady get out of the car, lock the doors and walk off. Me. Excuse me lady, you are blocking the driveway. Karen. So? You don't seem to be in a big hurry. Me. Actually, I was just setting out. Karen. Well, you can wait until I return, right? Me. I really don't think so. Can't you just move your car to somewhere else? The dirt road on the side of the forest is mostly empty. Karen. My car will get stuck in there. Me. You drive a G-Class, it was meant to go off-road. Besides, it isn't that rough of a road. Even most small hatchbacks can handle it. Karen. Oh my god, you millennials are so disrespecting. I will be going now. I have better things to do than to deal with kids like you. Me. Maybe you want to deal with the police then? Karen. How dare you speak to me like that? I am older than you, you shouldn't talk to me like that. Me. And what are you going to about that? Call the cops? In this situation, they aren't going to do much. Oh, and my parents are away, so no help there. After that she huffed and walked away. I dug out my phone and called the police to let them know that there's a lady with her SUV that refuses to get out of my driveway. The police arrived, looked at the G-Class, talked with me a bit and agreed that if she won't move it herself, then they will. Just when the tow truck arrived, Karen shows up again. Karen. What is going on here? Police officer. Ma'am, your car is blocking a driveway. If you don't move it yourself, we will have to fine you and move the vehicle ourselves. Karen. You really believe what this moron told you? He isn't even old enough to drive. Me. I own a four-wheeled moped. It looks like a small car but is still legally a moped. Police officer. It doesn't matter if he couldn't drive or wasn't planning to go anywhere, you are still parked illegally. Now move your car or you will be fined. Honestly, I was surprised that she wasn't fined in the first place. Karen. Fine, but I will have you know I am married to a rich man who has the power to ruin you if he so chooses. After that she got in her car and drove off. The police stayed there for a while to make sure that nobody else wasn't doing anything like that, and I was finally able to go to the store. The next story is titled, The Entitlement of the Poop Lady. I have mostly been lucky and had decent neighbors. Nobody bothers anyone in my neighborhood, and everyone is very kind, most of the time. I have lived here for 6 years at this point and have never had conflict with the people who live around me. I had a dog, a husky Aussie mix, and everyone loved her. She was so friendly. She did take to wandering away from the yard in her old age and preferred to be outside most of the time, so I set up a lead for her. This way I wasn't worried about her wandering the busy street she liked to cross to visit the goat farm. Like I said, everyone loved her and I was never called by my name but Sid's mom, so I was very surprised to see a little green baggie of dog poop on my mailbox with a note taped to it. For all the presents your dog has left in my yard, I look forward to not receiving them anymore. When I got this, I was stunned. I had put my dog down the week before and had an at-home vet come and do it. It took place in my front yard because of COVID. It was horrible, but the vet was supportive and lovely and made it as good of an experience as they could. Anyway, my initial reaction was to knock on the door of every home in the area to figure out who left it and throw the poop in their face. I didn't. Instead, I wrote a letter that I put in everyone's mailbox about how they were either misinformed or a terrible person. I wished them the karma they deserved and thought that would be that. I was wrong. I talked to the neighbors who share my driveway. There ate 4 of us, and turns out she put poop in all of our mailboxes, which is like wild. I also found out she is the one who cut the power lines because they interfered with her fair lights. I live on a mountain and the transformer sits higher up and the lines are easy for her to access. Cut to a few weeks later, my mom is on my front porch and this woman comes storming up the driveway and yells, "I know you have a black dog." And my mom stared at her and said, "Oh, you're the poop lady." Poop lady says nothing, then asks about a black dog. Sid was caramel colored. My mom said no, and she insisted someone on this driveway did, and no, we don't. One is a yellow lab hound mix and the other a red and white boxer. My mom said no, she was crazy and to leave. My mom could then hear her throwing a nuclear temper tantrum. After this she started watching me from her driveway when I get home. Undoubtedly to catch me with this black dog. I've started waving and she scowls right back. Once again, I thought this was over. Then I came home to find someone stole my raised flower bed. It was empty as I was getting it ready and didn't have enough soil. Spoiler, it was poop lady. The worst part is that it's the garden I do every summer for my late grandfather who loved gardening. I really want to go cut her stupid little fairy lights, but instead I'm waiting on my Ring doorbell. The last story is entitled Man Demands My Family Pay for His Yard. My brother owns a small red Ford truck my parents gifted him to get to work. My family also has an open field that has a few beehives around. The field gets extremely muddy whenever it rains, so we usually don't drive through it. My brother was visiting our parents and decided to get the mail for us before he parked. Our mailbox is at the opposite end of the field to our house. As he was driving, he got stuck in the mud. There is me, V, entitled person, EP, my dad, D, and my brother, B. Dad was trying to figure out if we should call a tow truck or not. Soon after, brother had the idea of shoveling some gravel from the driveway into the field. Dad and brother went to get the wheelbarrow to move the gravel. I waited for them next to the truck listening to my music when entitled person showed up at the opposite end of the field in his white Chevy SUV. He came to me first because I was next to the truck. Note: I was 17 and looked like I was legal driving age. He shouted in a thick southern accent, "You're the asshole that ran over my mailbox and ruined my lawn." I replied in an annoyed voice, "Look, I'm 17 and don't own the truck. Talk to brother, he's the one who owns it." He then walked over to dad and brother shouting at them to pay for damages. Entitled person then stated, "I will call the police, and have you arrested because I know you did it." Dad then says to go right ahead because we didn't do it. Entitled person then drove off saying they would sue. I knew if they sued, we would win because my brother has a dashcam that is very hard to see from outside the truck. Thanks for listening.